Welcome to video number 8 in my 13-part video series of the 13 big mistakes beginning saxophonists and even experienced saxophonists are making that prevent them from moving up to the next level or even getting started. Now, in this video number 8, I'm speaking about learning using only one method. And again, I hinted at it quite strongly in the last video of playing in one genre. They're really interlinked, but I want to go into some distinctions in this video. Number one, a huge number of saxophonists believe that their method is the right one, right? So let's be very clear. There is no one method to playing the saxophone. In fact, more so than any other instrument, this is the truth, the saxophone has a multitude of methods because it has highly variable pitch. As a result, there are multiple different ways to get around the big problems. Now, one of the things I have to be very clear on is this. One of the problems which you will always face, and this is the basic problem as a musician, is I hear something and I want to play it, right? Or I've heard a tune on the radio, and not just the word hear. We do not see music. For those of you who read sheet music, you should understand what I mean here. We do not see music, we hear it. Now, after hearing something we like, the next question is, how are we going to play it? Now, there are two approaches. The first approach is we go and buy the sheet music. You can buy the sheet music of probably most popular songs online. It will cost you £5 or £6 each time. Or in the US, $5 or $6. You buy the music, you download it, you look at it, you play it. Or you buy a method book. Now, this has been done for years and years. If you go into the music shops, you'll see that one of the biggest best-selling titles is stuff like Adele, stuff like Taylor Swift, musicals. All of them are put in an easy-to-play book, which is sold to pianists and keyboardists. Many saxophonists buy those books and use that as the basis of being able to play those solos. That is a method. Another method is to learn to do it by ear. In other words, you hear it on the radio, you pick up your saxophone, you figure out how do I play it by ear, and then you play it there. Now, the important thing here is that these methods, and these are two main methods. There are many other methods which are branches of these. But again, to simplify this, because this is going out to people, you're getting started, you know what you're doing now, but it's going out to you and you're getting started now. So to simplify it to you, particularly right now, is this. You need to realize that you need to use both methods. And this is the biggest mistake. You will find teachers tend to favor the method they were taught in. So if you are taught from a classical perspective, and by classical perspective, I also mean you as a jazz musician, you are taught jazz by learning to read sheet music. This is also a classical perspective because that's the same method. Because truthfully, jazz was not taught by reading sheet music. Keep telling this to people. Jazz was learned orally by learning to play it by ear. So if you have learned purely by reading sheet music, when you come to go to a teacher who's learned using this method, this is the only method they know. So therefore, they will only teach you using this method. It's not beneficial to you. Then you start to come across the big mistakes which they complain about amateurs. Amateurs don't read the rhythms properly. Amateurs do not follow the key signature. They get it wrong. Or you slow down when you come to a difficult passage. Now, the truth of the matter is what makes the passage difficult is the way it looks visually. If you are taught this by ear, you would not see it the same way. And I'm not joking. I have done this test hundreds of times where I've shown a person a piece of music and asked them to play it, and they can read music and they've not been able to play it. I've taught the same piece of music by ear and they've learned it 4 times faster. Now, the reason I say you need to realize that is that both methods are extremely important in the saxophone. In the last video, I gave a warning, particularly to classical musicians, that playing the saxophone you'll be judged by how well you play popular styles of music. That if you speak to the man on the street that you're a classical saxophonist, they really do not understand what you're saying. The majority of people don't even believe the saxophone is a classical instrument. They don't realize that classical saxophone exists, despite the fact that there are many people who are employed as professors of classical saxophone at local conservatoires. This is the fact which you have to realize. But here's one for those going the opposite way. Another big mistake is those by ear never learn to read music. This is another terrible mistake. I know tons of people who play exceptionally well by ear, but have never learned to read music. Again, you need to learn to read music to understand what is going on. And here's something which may shock you. None other than Miles Davis himself said. Remember, Miles Davis was a classical player who actually studied at Juilliard. Miles Davis said that one of the best things I learned in Juilliard was the ability to read music and be able to find ideas from musical scores. His wonderful composition called Sketches of Spain came from him going and studying scores by Schoenberg and other modern composers, and being able to use his study of scores in Juilliard's library as a basis for his musical compositions. Miles Davis always dipped into classical all the way through until the end of his life. He was an avid reader of musical scores. He could read music very proficiently, and he went on to the best-selling jazz artist of all times. I believe very strongly that despite Miles Davis' very pugnacious personality, meaning he was rude, often bad-tempered, bad-mannered, a lot of what he was able to achieve, particularly in his ability to win Grammys for playing the trumpet and in order for him to shape jazz, came from the fact that he had learnt in a classical tradition. By classical, I mean Miles Davis was highly methodical about how he went through and composed music, and he put music out to the public and how he thought of music. Bearing in mind, you do not actually get this idea of it when you see how he presents himself publicly. But a lot of the way he presented himself publicly was an image. In real life, Miles Davis was a very intelligent individual. On top of that, Miles played with everybody. This is why, to the time he died, he was still selling out stadiums. Miles was the first person to realize, because he sold so many records, that jazz was dying in the 1960s, and he went to fusion. And I have to tell you this, I love a lot of Miles Davis's fusion stuff, especially the track called Jean-Pierre and Bitches Brew. These are albums I really do enjoy. Contrary to what the purists say, look, hands up here, I'm also a purist. I also like my bebop. I also like my kind of blue. I have kind of blue in record. I have it on my MP3 player. I have it in CD format. If there was a video of it, I would have it. But I like what he did, his inventiveness. But this came from the ability to both read music and hear music by ear. Miles was constantly working and grooving his technique. Most people do not know that Miles had trumpet lessons all the way through till a few years before he passed on. He was always learning with other players. That is why he was always on the top of his game. He wasn't just relying on one method. He was relying on a multitudinal amount of methods to get things going. Most people are shocked, and when you read the book Miles, which is a revelation, his book, you will find out that Miles was in consultation with a large numbers of people who weren't in the jazz world. He was speaking to, communicating with them, getting ideas from. But it's important to understand that as a musician, you get ideas from everywhere, particularly when it comes to resolving the fundamental problems, which is, how do I play what I hear? And this is an important point. This is the fundamental problem in all music. If you had the ability to play what you hear, what you want to play consistently, even watching this video series. But because you don't, you have to come to it from a multitude of angles. And the two main things I would say to you is, as well as reading music, learn to play by ear, because the two go hand in hand. And don't learn using one method. If you have a teacher who's insistent on teaching you only one method, that means they're not willing to grow. This is the truth. Find another teacher. Remember that as an adult learner, you are not bound to one person or one teacher. You're not bound geographically. I'm giving this video series to people worldwide. I have clients who are coming to me from all across the world, writing in, communicating with me, asking me for different ideas of how they can play the saxophone and get over these common problems. You're not bound to one teacher. It's important for me to tell you this because I found many people, when they come to learn with me, I say to them, but your playing is crap. How is it that you've been playing for so long and your playing is that bad? Oh, I have this teacher who's local to me. Don't allow someone to destroy your dream of becoming a great saxophonist, because at the end of the day, it is you who suffers. Don't just go to a teacher because he's close to you. Go to a teacher who you know in your heart, and you've seen by what they've demonstrated that they understand what they're talking about. Don't go to a teacher who only learns using one method, who's not considerate of your own understanding of what you want to do on the instrument. Now, this is a big mistake, because most beginners, you don't know better. Most people don't understand music that well. music knowledge is not common in the general population. We all like to hear it, but a deep understanding of it is not common. So make sure you're very clear that you don't stick to a teacher who only learns using one method. You need to ask your teacher that, look, unfortunately, I have a different view. I believe I want to play the instrument. This is not working for me. What else can you show me to get over this? This is a very important thing you can say to those teaching and instructing you. Those of you who are being self-taught learning, remember that you need to use both methods, how to read music as well as how to hear and play music. So playing by ear. So I hope you found a lot from this video. I'm going on to video number 9, which is a huge one. Again, I've hinted at it again, but I'm going to hint at it even more because once again, people get this wrong, not putting in the time. Video number 9 is not putting in the time. So I look forward to seeing you in video number 9. So once again, remember to play your sax now.